portrays everything you are as a person. I was a bit confused, but it clicked when I thought about it more. She's never seen me write an actual poem on my own before, has she? Thank you. She handed it back to me, and I held the sheet close to myself, a warm feeling flowing within me, knowing that I had written something considered amazing. Now, what was it that you wanted to say besides showing me this? It must be good if this is associated with it. I froze up again as the feeling crawled back up the skin on my arm. I kept my hand away from my arm this time. Come on, Yuri, you can do this. I closed my eyes as I composed my thoughts, and spoke to her as professionally as I could. Monica, I would like to request that we have actual club meetings at Sayori's house. Every meeting we can share new and better poems. Poems that aren't just generic like the ones we're showing to him. Oh, for fuck's sake. Hey, yeah, Oh, okay. That's cool. And again, yep. Oh, but hey, but him was just italicized, not bolded this time. Makes no difference, but thought I'd point that out. Her eyes widened as she listened. She thought about it for a few seconds before nodding in approval. A smile soon replaced her curious expression. That's a wonderful idea, Yuri. We can write poems now and then present them when we get home. She looked around the room for a moment, appearing to be in thought as she noticed the clock. We can tell Sayori when she gets here, but I really do like that idea, Yuri. I think it'll help us out heavily during our more stressful times. She nodded again to herself. This idea will certainly help us bring us closer together as a club. Thank you so much for this. I felt the feelings in my body finally fade away as she said that. It was replaced with that warm, welcoming feeling that I was starting to experience more often while I was around them. My fears drifted into the back of my mind once more as I smiled, satisfied with my success. Monica turned heel and briskly made her way up to a podium, flipping through the pages of her notebook to a blank sheet and going into thought. Relief flowed through my veins as I returned to my desk. I watched Monica for a few moments before looking down at my partially written poem. I picked up my pen, ready to continue writing my poem, hopefully to finish it this time. And my eyes darted down the page. Over the grassy plateaus, and my train of thought was interrupted by the sound of the classroom door opening and closing. This time, however, the door was practically slammed shut instead of closed nicely. Sayori? Sayori! Monica practically shouted as she ran over to the girl. She was frantically searching over Sayori's body. Are you okay? Why are you panting like that? Did he do something to you? Why would he? Is she panicking? Why is she panicking? I mean, MC's... because MC's following a script, so couldn't do anything to her? Is this person that... Why are we being... Whatever. I looked at Monica and felt a mixture of confusion. What's with that look on her face? Why does it seem so familiar to me? I'm fine, Monica. I just wanted to get here as fast as I possibly could. I didn't want to waste valuable club time. Sarah smiled as she captured the enamored Monica in a hug. But thank you for your concern. She said it with a broad smile, her cheer obvious. She let Monica go and stepped back. Something felt off about Sayori's expression, but I wasn't about to question why. Monica could handle it, I was sure about that. Seriously, Monica? What you saying earlier that you believed in her, was that a lie? Monica opened her mouth to respond, but shut it quickly as she was assaulted by an even tighter Sayori hug. You believed in me? Really? Sayori said it blissfully as she squeezed Monica. The once prideful club president had succumbed to Sayori's hug attack. Yes. Why wouldn't I? I believe in all of us. Sayori eyed brightly after Monica's remark, finally letting go of her and looking at us. She seemed to catch on to our activity when she noticed we both had pens and paper on our desks. Are we writing poems? How intuitive? Wait, what? Right, this is a literature club poem. What was that? I'm confused. We'll move on. Yup, all thanks to Yuri, we have a new activity to do every night. Why are you faded to the right? You're talking, right? I don't know, I guess maybe the faded thing is like, oh, she's still there, but she's gotten farther away. I don't know. I felt my face blush as I snatched a look over at Oh, I get it. Yuri's focus was on... on those two, and then Natsuki was faded, and she said the thing in the focus shit. Again, for every... effort went into this. Effort did go into this. She shit my idea that much? Really? Siri seemed like she might hyperventilate as she began to jump with joy. After her excitement started to wear off, Monica finally managed to calm her down and explain what the plan was for the evening from now on. I get to learn how to make numbers and stuff work, and I get to share poetry? She seemed to be even more excited now. Luckily, Monica kept her from exploding. She got the idea to reduce Sarah's excitement by offering to talk to her about learning more about poetry. It worked far better than I would have expected it to. I heard the quiet sound of Natsuki ending the conversation as I stuck another look at her. She was smirking at something on her paper. Okay. Oh no. But anyway, this is time for a be right back. Let's start. Oh, cool! Oh, can't wait to see that, and time for a little be right back intermission thing. And we're back. Oh right, yeah, I forgot to mention we have a new jar. It's a Plinko jar. So. And also, again, can't wait to see it. 7 days to fit. Yeah, that's cool. As much as I really do get annoyed by her antics, I can't help but just... I looked down at my paper and gazed at the title of my poem, The Fluffy King. That'll throw them off for sure. I smirked to myself as I looked up, stifling a laugh as I watched Monica wrangle Sayori back under control. What? Wait, why is stream element? I've been streaming, what? Also, yeah, I've watched... Also, yeah, I have seen Star Wars. The original trilogy. I've seen snippets of the other two, but... Yeah, mostly the original trilogy. Why is stream elements doing that? I didn't stop the stream. Whatever. Sayori was listening intently to Monica as she began to explain a few pointers to her on writing poetry. Sayori seemed to take in as much as she could, all while containing her overloaded excitement. Then I felt something strange, like somebody was looking at me. My eyes turned to my side and I barely caught a glimpse of Yuri staring right at me. Why is she... I looked directly at her as she showed clear shock and turned away. I knew what I needed to do in that moment. What's up, Can't handle knowing I'm gonna do better than you? Yuri tensed up as she looked back at me. Yep, that kind of does look tense, never mind. Instead of an annoyed glare, the thing that I was expecting in response, there was only a friendly smile. Competition is very healthy, especially on friendly topics like poetry, where there is no real winner. What? I felt utter confusion when she said that, her smile remaining present. Good luck, though. If you need any help, you can ask me for some. She turns back to her poem, my response caught up in my throat. Fine, you win this round, but I'll be back. It's weird, there is good writing, but... Again, whatever. I feel so conflicted about this mod. Whatever, again, only way to know for sure is to see it through to the very end. I returned back to my desk and sat down, returning my concentration back to my poem. This'll be the most perfect masterpiece, I'll show her. That sounded way more badass in my head, I know it did. I'm glad I don't talk out loud to myself. Let me guess. That was actually said? I felt the hairs on the back of my neck raise as I looked up, and even further beyond up to see Yuri standing near my desk. I blinked a few times before opening my mouth to respond. Yeah, Yuri? She looked at the desk next to mine and back and before letting out a quiet sigh. Do you mind if I sit next to you? Just so we can talk. Once you're done writing, that is. I'm not done either, so... I looked at her confused and shrugged as I turned my attention back to my writing. I could hear her quiet shuffling and the nearby silent squeak of the desk shifting a bit before hearing Yuri sit down. I continued to focus, hearing Yuri's pen move along her paper much faster than mine. I couldn't help but take a quick peek. Holy shit, I just couldn't believe how long it was. Whoa! Half the notebook? Okay then. I let out a loud sigh as I looked back at my paper, feeling a twinge of jealousy. Is something wrong? Yuri asked quietly as I glanced up at her. She appeared to have a genuine look of concern on her face. No, I'm just concentrating really hard. Yeah, really hard. She didn't seem convinced, but she took it as is and went back to working on her poem. Even her writing is so goddamn graceful. I felt the jealousy slowly boil down into anger at myself as I focused on my writing, my last few lines morphing into something a little more agitated than I originally intended. I stopped and scribbled those last words out before I crumpled up the paper and threw it off my desk. I laid my head down out of frustration at myself. Natsuki, are you okay? I didn't respond. Honestly, I didn't want to respond at that point. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come over here. I turned my head up to look at her. She was looking away shamefully, her lips tacked tightly together as she tried not to look too saddened. No, it's not your fault. I sat up a little bit and pulled up a fresh piece of paper, rewriting the title. I'm just stressed out from everything that's happening, that's all. Totally true. I lied through my teeth, but this time Yuri didn't seem to catch on. She nodded in agreement as she seemed to go deeper into thought. Do you know what helps calm my nerves? I wanted to sarcastically say read a book, but tea, a warm cup of tea. She scooted her chair back and stood up. I looked up at her as she made her way over to her tea set. Yuri, I attempted to tell her no, but it was no use. She was already well into itself, and stopping her seemed wrong for some reason. I noticed Monica and Sarah was still in deep conversation up at the front of the room, and they honestly seemed very happy to just be chatting like that. I joined them, but my thought was interrupted by Yuri returning to my desk once more again. Do you want extra sugar? I know you're into sweets and whatnot. She said it in a serious tone and I blinked a few times. I was honestly a bit baffled by her kindness. Yeah, just a little extra, please. She smiled before she went back to her tea-making process. It was so off-putting seeing her act so kind towards me. That last night that might have been something to cause her to be so kind out of the blue, to be quite honest. I began to think of her yesterday. Yuri and I had been talking late into the night. After some careful consideration, mainly around her need to lay down comfortably with those huge things on her. Yep, that's happening. She had claimed the better part of the couch for the first night. What has really stuck out to me from all of it, though, was that Yuri had brought up something about herself. She admitted that she was incredibly nervous about people in general. I don't remember, did that conversation actually happen, or... Where was that conversation, though? Whatever. That was something that I agreed with entirely. In my own experience, people sucked. A lot. Plus, I can't really explain it, but I guess we both have had to deal with those boys trying to hit on us. I watched her look away relentlessly. My eyes followed her hands as they gracefully poured tea into the cup she was preparing for the two of us. Monica? She spoke up quietly as the club president locked eyes with her. There's extra tea if you want it. I made some for myself and Natsuki, so... Monica smiled in response. Thank you, Yuri. We will get some when we can. Yuri picked up the 2 cups. I couldn't help but look up at her face curiously. She was in deep concentration, like she was reading one of her books. Damn, she is really intense when she wants to be, no matter what she's doing. She walked over to our little setup and placed down the cups. One was set in front of me and the other was placed on her desk. She reclaimed her seat and took a sip, a small smile on her face. Thanks, Yuri. I picked up the cup and took a sip. The burning sensation of freshly made hot tea was being taken over from the flavor of the jasmine that was contained within. It made me feel calmer, at least in my stomach. It's no problem, really. Yuri smiled as she went back to her writing. Her pen gracefully met the paper like it was nothing. It was moving along without any drag. I looked down at mine and took another sip of tea before joining Yuri in the writing escapade. My pen movements attempted to match her speed and grace, but I quickly found out that she was just too dang fast for me. Why are we censoring? Okay, why are you censoring yourself and your... Why are we censoring anything at all? What? Whatever. Did I seriously just catch myself? Exactly! I shook my head as I continued to rewrite my poem, feeling even more confident in it now that I had Yuri's tea and her support. But the twinge of something go through my spine when I thought about Yuri being so kind to me again. It was just so unusual. Eventually, I found myself jotting down the end of the poem and placing my pen down. I let out a quiet sigh as my brain finally shut down on its creative outpour. I picked up the now lukewarm tea and took a gracious sip. I couldn't lie, it had a truly refreshing taste. After a few more minutes, I noticed Yuri put her pen down as well. She seemed relieved to be done. She let out a gentle sigh as she slowly relaxed. Her eyes closed as she leaned back in her chair, only for her to reach down and pick up her cup and take a sip without even looking. She did reopen her eyes, though, as her sip turned into something else. She began to gulp down the entire cup, and within a few swallows, the cup was completely empty. She placed it back down the desk with a pleased smile. Do you want my tea as well, Saroi? Yuri giggled at my joke. Oh, that was a joke. Huh. My face flushed a little as she laughed. Man, you're really easy to make laugh, you know that? She looked up at me and smiled again. And you were easy to embarrass. I felt my face get even more flushed and I looked away. How are we doing it? Huh. Well, I struggled to find a good comeback. You're I felt my face Okay, sometimes I just combine words. Here we go. I felt my face flush hard the moment the words left my lips. It was weird. Really, Natsuki? That's the best you've got? I looked at her and nearly held back. I'm just not up to it, is all. Yuri let out a much louder laugh as the other 2 girls looked back at us, with Monica raising an eyebrow and Sari looking at us confused. If I'm a nerd, then you're one too, you know. I closed my mouth as I realized I'd just trapped myself here looking away from her. Well, I stumped myself as the other girls laughed at us, bit at us before going back to their separate chat. Sorry, Natsuki, I just wanted to try out your whole comeback thing. I looked at her confused, my face still flushed from our previous interaction. She appeared to have a slightly nervous smile. It seems like fun to poke at each other a little, so I hope I didn't naturally make you mad or anything. I shook my head in response immediately. No, I'm actually kind of impressed, to be entirely honest. Oh God, throat is sore. She seemed a bit surprised when I said this, but she just went with the flow. Well, I'm glad. She looked down at her side for a moment before reaching down. I watched her curiously as she pulled out her book. Please don't ask me to read that. Would you like to read this with me? Fate. It loves to... Fate. It loves to be like, nope, not gonna help you today. Gonna go away and leave you to your own thing. Bye. I'm so conflicted. Like, this moment in particular is great, and there were other moments beforehand that were great as well. And then I just think back to how they treat MC like, someone who just did horrible things, and I'm like, what do I think about this? Sure? I don't read this kind of stuff. Oh. Yuri smiled supportively. It's okay. We can read at your own pace. Oh, we're using this CG. I didn't think I'd be seeing this, but sure. She turned the book to the beginning and held it out to me. I placed my right hand on the other side of the book to hold the page open. So many words. I felt my mind rush with confusion as I started to read, looking over at the first line. I tried to read fast, but I continued to stumble over my own thoughts. Eventually, I managed to get to the bottom of the first page. I was trying to keep up before my attempt to be fast was crushed entirely. You ready? I looked up at her surprised and shook my head no. I just got to the bottom of the first page. She nodded understandingly. I know you only read manga most of the time, so this might have been a bit too much for you right off the bat. The thought then hit me. Oh, really? Well, yeah, but manga's literature too, you know. Yuri smiled a little. I will admit I still kinda doubt that. I looked at her with a smirk. How about this? I read with you today, and tomorrow we can read my manga. How about that? Sound fair? Yuri's face went a bit... almost confused the two's dialogue. Yuri's face went a bit pale as she blinked a few times. You aren't escaping your decision that easily. Come on, Yuri. It's only fair that you try my stuff after I have to try yours. Especially with how much I'm struggling here. Yuri took in a quiet breath before sighing loudly. Okay, Natsuki, I'll read some manga with you tomorrow. I silently cheered to myself. Yuri's disheveled facial features exposed her disdain towards wanting to even try it. But let's continue with this for today, okay? I'm sure you'll love this book, I can promise that much. I nodded, my vigor coming in full force as I started to read at a much higher pace. I managed to blow through the next page in under a minute. We spent a while reading together, and I have to admit, the book really wasn't that bad. Eventually, Monica stopped and informed us that we were approaching the time of day when the club starts. Oh no. Remember the show don't tell? Well, here's the show part, I think. This is when club starts. This is when MC appears. The insult count was 21. I'm gonna get this ready. We spent the rest of the time before the club meeting chatting and revising whatever was needed for our plan. It was mainly about certain lines we needed to say, even if they came naturally. For a little bit, we just even discussed how we would run things when we got home. Harry and Sayori seemed really into the whole acting thing now, but I still felt kind of dumb to be acting so abrasive. I wasn't sure what the point of it was, but it was starting to tick me off. Soon enough, time to chat was running low. We had to split up once again as we awaited for his arrival. Oh, we're not italicizing his name? Ising his this time, or bolding it? What a shocker. No, really, that is shocking. Okay, everyone, let's get into position. I'm greeting him today, so things should be really easy to get through at the start. She smiled brightly as we all nodded or agreed in some fashion. I went back to my desk and sat down, already starting to feel lonely as I realized that everyone else was far away from me. Yuri turned and gave me one last wave and smile, a clear sign of good luck from her. I think I needed that in preparation. Oh, never mind. Back to the bowling. This is gonna be fun. I didn't feel very excited for today, but it was too late for that as he came through the door to start off another terrible afternoon. So who's perspective? Oh, there's Sayori's. Welp. Oh, glad you didn't run away on us. Monica seemed caught off guard by his sudden appearance as much as I was. Everyone else in the room tensed up a bit as they turned their heads. Nah, don't worry. I feel... This might be a little strange for me, but I at least keep my word. He looked over towards Yuri as he waited for her response. She stared back and prepared herself, seemingly hiding her emotions as best as she could. Thanks for keeping your promise. I know it's difficult to dive headfirst into something such as literature when you aren't very good. She seemed to pause, catching herself before continuing a sentence, when you aren't very accustomed to it. She let out a quiet sigh of relief as she calmed her nerves. Oh, whatever. Like he deserves any slack. I'm pretty sure she actually means that this time. Not counting it. This was in the main game. Natsuki stormed up to him and stared him down. I instinctively reached up and adjusted my bow. Don't go too far, Natsuki. Sari told me that you didn't even want to join any club. This has been or this year for that matter. Don't think you can just come here to relax or screw around. She puffed out her cheeks in a defiant manner. If you don't take us seriously, I'll never let you hear the end of it. Got it? The expressed feeling of success on her face was quickly replaced with a resistant nature. She went back over to her chair and sat down with a smirk. Yeah, this is basically DDLC. Resentment. Just resentment. Apparently. Maybe. That's what I'm feeling from this. He looked at me after she spoke, and I felt a surge of anxiety rise as I stood up in front of everyone. Don't worry, guys. Robbie always gives his best, even when he isn't asked. I stopped myself from continuing, knowing full well that I was supposed to compliment him after Natsuki's words. Monika stuck a smile at me as I looked over towards Yuri, her glance affirming my next move. Yuri brought you something today. Yuri regained her confidence before throwing out a very fake, nervous gasp. Wait, Yuri, it's... I smiled a bit at Yuri's passion for this whole act. This is the thing I'm talking about. Previous segment when this happened, both good and bad. Good in this, I really like reading these. Is having it be an act. It feels different, like really different. And yeah, I'm pretty sure the count's gonna grow. Something for me. He looked at Yuri curiously as she tried to deflect the approach. Whatever his curious look was supposed to qualify as. Well, it isn't that big of a deal. She looked away from him, her eyes gazing towards a certain pink-haired girl, one who was working back at her worriedly. Don't be shy, Yuri. Just share it with him. She seemed genuinely split over this whole scenario. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Natsuki nodding. Even if it was a frown, she wanted Yuri to do it too. Okay, I will. She walked back to her desk and reached down into her bag, pulling out a book. I could tell she looked uncomfortable while doing this, but instead of giving him, she seemed to prepare herself and faced him head on. Like he's some kind of theater that we need to open. I don't know if that was the thing or not. Here, I thought you should feel welcome was all. She held out the book to him and he gripped the other end of it. He tried to take it, but Yuri didn't let go of it easily. Oh no. I gasped a little to myself as Monika looked over at her, eyes wide. She shook her head as she stood up straight. She vowed to let it go as she took a small step towards the two to intervene. Luckily, Yuri finally let the book go, almost staring him down. Sorry, my grip was a little strong. She returned to her normal nervousness as soon as the interaction continued, that brief flash of confidence disappearing once again. It's okay, Yuri. No big deal. He hooked the book under his arm and turned away, essentially floating elsewhere. Yuri glared at him, appearing absolutely furious. Oh, yes. Oh my god. Yuri, is everything okay? You seem really, mad. I asked my question quietly as she tried to calm down a little. Yeah, why? What did he even do? You were supposed to give him the book. Let's go. Whatever. Oh, for fuck's sake! No! I feel like I want to scream at him. She finally calmed down as she looked past me and at someone behind me. I could only guess that other person was Natsuki. What did he even do? That's my question. What happened? And yeah. He's going to you again, okay? You just need to stay calm. I know you'll be fine. I said that as she looked at me again, her peaceful nature coming back a little before she realized what she was doing. Like, why is the mirror... out of giving him a book. Just, what? I am so sorry. I just... Ah! He disgusts me. I nodded in agreement. What? Oh my... Why? What did he do? What happened? And what? I'm missing something. I normally wouldn't have agreed to something like that, but I just couldn't argue. He's just a disgusting person. We're at 25 in total. I knew it this was gonna keep going. The thought rushed through my mind and left me a bit stunned by it. I heard his footsteps approaching us and my mind completely froze. I glanced over at him and felt my body go rigid for a moment. Disgusting person? What happened? This is on the same level as that condescending glare, which everybody gave. It just feels weird. He's coming, I whispered to Yuri before I forced my body to move and dashed back over to my desk. I sat down and looked up towards Monica, who had been standing at her podium during most of this. I could hear Yuri let out a nervous sigh as she went back to her desk and sat down to prepare for him. Oh no, don't you mean him? I thought we were bolding that word. She opened up her book and almost buried her face into it, trying to not act strange, even though that by itself is kind of exaggerated. I watched him walk over to her and awkwardly attempt to converse with her. Yuri was responding in an identical fashion, her nervousness clear. That's the book you gave me, right? Yuri nodded. Yes, I was just reading over some of my favorite parts again, is all. The character model of the boy. Yeah, we're even acknowledging that he isn't real! And yet he's a disgusting person! And this feels weird. And he's a character model. The character model. Yep, he's a character model, and yet he's just a disgusting person. Yeah, those two go together well. That's not confusing at all. Just curious, how come you have two copies of the same... Right. Seeing this shifted it out of thought, right. Look. That sounded weird. Yuri smiled as she took a look back towards the corner of the room. Following the gaze, I only then noticed Natsuki staring hard at them too. She was digging her fingers into her desk. Oh, well, I just happened to buy two at the bookstore yesterday. I could hear Monica audibly sigh. Isn't that what Yuri is supposed to say in response? I took a quick look at her and felt a smile go on my face as I realized why she said... Why? Oh god, let me guess. It's related to him being awful, right? Monica wasn't sighing because Yuri had said the wrong thing. She was sighing at how oh! Never mind. Okay. How ridiculous Yuri's reasoning actually was. It just didn't make much sense at all. Ah, I see. Was he really programmed to just accept that without question? How can one be so dense that's not even remotely realistic? I looked down at my feet as the two continued to chat. My thoughts from a moment ago starting to hit home. He was programmed. Oh, are we realizing this? I was programmed. I felt my happy thoughts slowly drift away as the rain clouds hit me for the first time in a few days. Is anything about my life even real? I sunk a little bit into my chair, feeling an overwhelming amount of guilt and sadness take over. I can't believe I was led to believe he was some hero, and yet... Wait, what? He was programmed. Like you said. So all those insults make no sense. I looked up and I watched as the character sat down next to Yuri. He was being extremely direct and blissfully ignorant as I shook my head. Sorry. I felt my body tense up as I looked over at the club president, now sitting in the desk in front of mine. She was sitting in it such a way so she could look directly at me. Monica! I put on a bright smile as she looked at me concerned. Is something wrong? Did Yuri mess up? I asked hurriedly in an attempt to dissuade her approach on my part. I really didn't want to cause any more trouble for her. She already has enough to worry about involving us. Monica's smile shone through as she stared at me. She didn't seem to buy what I was saying. No, Yuri has been doing just fine. Natsuki, however. I remembered Natsuki's look from earlier as I once again looked back to the corner. Natsuki looked completely enraged as she watched Yuri read a book with him. She was fuming as she clutched her desk. Is that jealously. She noticed her staring and let out a large breath, her senses taking over again as she slumped down a bit, trying to calm down. It took a while, but she did smile at us a little before holding her manga up to block her face and to distract herself from the two reading together up front. I mean, I guess this is jealousy, but what? Sayori. Oh no, I thought she forgot. I turned and looked at her, my normal smile on my face once again. Yes, Monica? I looked at her and found myself a bit stuck on her worried expression. I didn't want to lie to her about how I felt, but I needed to, for now at least. Are you sure everything is okay? You seemed a bit down when I came over. I nodded happily. Yes! I was just thinking about how Natsuki must feel right now with the whole reading together with him thing. You know, because from the way we keep enunciating it, his name, we're just half expecting him to just suddenly sprout devil horns. I can understand your irritation over having someone butt in while you're hanging out with your friends. I frowned a little at the thought of someone doing that to me as Monica searched my eyes. Her expression was telling me that she didn't entirely believe my words. You would tell me if something was up, right, Zoe? I smiled at her brightly. Yep. I trust you wholeheartedly, Monica. She seemed to calm down a little as she looked over at Yuri and him. I have to jump in when he calls her cute, both for the game and for Natsuki's sake. I nodded in agreement. That needed to be ended as soon as possible if it came down to it. I guess I more meant that it's kind of cute. Oh, speak of the devil! Which again, we keep treating this guy. This poor sap ass. Yeah. The line came up with perfect timing, almost as if it was planned. And as it was said, Monica stood up and went over to her podium. Okay, everyone. I noticed Natsuki had put her manga down and Monica spoke aloud. Luckily, she didn't seem to hear MC's side comment towards Yuri. I think it's about time we all shared poems today. I reached into my bag and pulled out the first generic poem of my bunch. Generic? Looking at it begrudgingly. This one just seems so rushed and meh. Yuri and him. Oh no, it's italicized. I talked a little bit longer before he finally went to his bag. Yuri's face went from faked joy to pure relief as she reached into her own bag and pulled out a piece of paper. Did you remember to write a poem, Robbie? Monica smirked as she looked at him. She told us it would be bad, but I wasn't sure how bad it would be. Ah, the poem sharing. This is gonna be prime. Isn't it? Yeah. He stood up and his character model froze. The four of us exchanged glances as he began the pick girl process, something that I could see in front of him as small text boxes with our names on them. Oh shoot, I'm actually picking. I don't want to be associated with him! Not because he's bad, but just because we're at 28 of these in total. Do you feel like being insulted over and over? And yeah, they're gonna say, alright. Let's go with Monica first. I saw him tap the screen on my name. Again, don't want to be associated with you. Well, it's probably best I go first to set an example for the others. I used to like him, love him. I stared at him as he stood in front of my podium and nervously looked away from me. That used to be cute, too. I smiled at him out of natural reaction. I didn't like seeing people all nervous, even if I also felt that way around him. Hi, Robbie. I looked at him brightly. Having a good time so far? Well, if I thought... Well, you know. He looked at me finally and nodded a little. Yeah. He said it before looking away again. Well, that's good. Oh, and if you have anything you want to let me know, just say the word, okay? I smiled at him as he looked back at me. Alright, I'll keep it in mind. I looked at him and narrowed my eyes a little bit before smiling brightly again. Still the same old guy, huh? What? What the fuck? I'll keep it in mind. Same old, same old. All keeping thoughts in the back of his head. Oh, never mind. We just morphed it into an insult. That's great. Must not be smart enough to know. Actually, wait, know what? No, what? That the club, that the club secretly hates him, which, or something. And the plan that's happening, because no one told him. I don't know. Seeing as that didn't get an immediate answer. Or I'm just, no. Are you gonna share your poem with me now? I said it definitely, causing the other girls to look up towards the front of the room at me. I feel a bit nervous, admittedly, with all of them now staring. It's kind of embarrassing, but I guess I have to. I laughed a little bit as I took the poem from him, preparing myself for whatever it is he wrote. Alright, what bit... Whoa! Error. Is it true that our realities are separated so easily? Just such a simple fix. A single tweak. Monica, it could be all ours. Just ours. Just, this is what you expected to see, isn't it? Seriously. Oh, guess what? You just wasted your time reading this. Again, is this supposed to be like, yeah, we're gonna prove them right. It isn't. This is the player, right? I blinked a few times as I read this over and over. This one is very new. I smiled brightly as I handed it back. That was excellent, Robbie. I was going, oh, in my head the entire time. I kept up my bright smile as I continued to speak, liar. I guess I underestimated your skills as a writer, but I guess that makes it so much better when I kept my expectations low. I smirked a little bit. I was gonna play with him a little bit today. Ah, sure. Like a cat playing with a mouse. Cool. That way it always counts when I put in some effort. I laughed a little bit at this remark. Why? Oh, right, because he puts in none. That's subtle. Maybe. Or maybe they're gonna tell us. Who knows? Well, I guess it worked anyway. It came out really nice. I avoided pointing out anybody, and knowing this would likely indicate a failure on the poetry for the game. This is a good start. I then brought out my first normal poem and handed it off to him, watching him closely as he practically read through it in under a minute. How many times have you seen that poem? Dozens, probably. He held it out to me as I took it. He was strangely silent before he spoke up quietly. It's very freeform, if that's what you call it. Sorry, I'm not really the right person to ask for feedback. I laughed a bit at his discomfort. It's alright. It's just a lot more popular these days to write like that. He then asked something I used to dread greatly. What was the inspiration behind this one? I looked at him and smiled as awkwardly as I could. Let's just say I had a bit of an epiphany recently. While not entirely a lie, I'm not going to let on about the real ideas going on behind closed curtains. Yeah, that's another thing. MC's still normal? Kinda? I mean, despite the claims of condescending glares, infuriating things, he's the same vanilla MC. I mean, he just wrote a weird poem, and that's the player's fault. Kinda feels weird. Plotting things behind his back, but who knows, maybe the plan will free him somehow, hopefully. Anyway, here's Monica's writing tip of the day. I got into my normal pose. Oh, you mean this? Yep, that's a good pose. I did genuinely feel relaxed like that. Sometimes when you're writing a poem or a story, your brain gets too fixated on a specific point. If you try too hard to make it perfect, then you'll never make any progress. Just force yourself to get something down on the paper and tidy it up later. Another way to think about it is this. If you keep your pen in the same spot for too long, you'll just get a big dark puddle of ink. So just move your hand and go with the flow. Sure, it's a repeat, but it's what he wants anyways. Thanks for listening. I smiled a bit more as he turned finally and walked away. I took a short glance at everyone. They were all smiling supportively. My eyes resting on Sayori finally as she waved a little bit before getting back in a position on her desk. Trying your hardest like always, huh? I smiled a little as I focused on my podium to continue planning out for tonight. Oh, I finally get the, as always, thing, you know, all the playthroughs, but whatever. Sayori and I had started to discuss it since she seemed the most interested. Of course, balancing the coding with the actual poetry writing was plenty to do. And of course, this whole mess. Yeah, it is a mess. Alright, who next? Let's get Natsuki's out of the way. I mean, she was just so infuriated. And he read with Yuri. Yeah, no, not associating myself with this guy. Hey, so, can add to the counter, probably. and he tapped on the name Natsuki as clear as day. At least I can get this over with now. I watched as he came over and pulled a chair up before sitting down, his face still pretty much lifeless. Oh, so this looks lifeless now. I thought it was a condescending glare, according to Sayori at the beginning. I wasn't sure what to say for a moment, the two of us looking at each other before I finally spoke up. So, let's see that poem of yours. I smirked widely as he nervously held up his poem and handed it to me. Let's just see how garbage this actually is. Whoa, the fuck? This is different. Kisses, cuddles, and kittens. Heartbeat and nibble. Why do you keep your manga in the closet, Natsuki? Pink cheeks and kawaii smirks, cupcakes and chocolate. Is it because you have no room at home? A doki doki, summer hope. That's actually a mod, by the way. Cupcakes, parfaits, chocolates, and strawberries. Baking is all you do. Because I'm pretty sure you have plenty of room in your pantry. Mean, grumbling anger. What's the word? Baka. Again, this is the player. I really don't think MC's like, you know what? I have a feeling. And to write something down. Yeah, this is good. I just suddenly feel hatred. I don't think he does, honestly. I read it over a few times. What the actual hell is this? I snatched up a look at him. His character model was staring right at me. It's just a bundle of words? I noticed at that point that the words seemed to at least follow the pattern, being more rude the farther down they got. But I started to notice the odd sentences written between the poems more clearly. Is he talking about my home life? I felt the twinge of rage override my senses before letting out a soft breath. I need to stay calm and focus on it. Monica said he started doing this a while ago. You mean the player? Right, yeah, the player. The player. I put it down and looked up a bit. I'm a bit ticked off here with my best efforts to calm down. If you're not gonna take this club seriously, then just go home. I resisted bursting out laughing at him, seeing the face of this thing contorted into fake confusion. Cool. Yeah, this doesn't sound... Yeah, this isn't toxic at all. What? Harsh? Yeah, again, we're at insult 30. I think that's pretty much justified. I let my confidence raise as I looked at him with a smirk. Do you expect me to believe you actually tried? How stupid do you think I am? That wasn't in the original. What are you doing? The color in his face faded away as he burned back at me. I'm not a writer. Maybe it's not very good, but yeah, I did put in effort. We all start somewhere, right? I shook my head as his character model stopped speaking, its mouth partially moving still. It's whatever, you'll get better or something. You just need more time to practice. The model nodded in response. Fair enough. Again, yeah, fair enough. Especially those other two lines. They kind of sounded a lot like insults. I pulled up the fake phone for the day and slid it over to him on my desk, my smirk fading away. Read mine, I guess. I don't really care. I looked away as the character looked at it, seemingly scanned over it and practically threw it back at me. I barely managed to keep it from fluttering off of the desk. Yeah, you don't like it, do you? I could read it clearly on his face. Really? Because all I'm reading is confusion. Or, you know, what word of the day are we gonna pull out this time? Because that looks like intrigue or confusion, maybe. But nah. Again, insult 31 on a weight, so who cares? I like it. I felt a bit of surprise at this response. Seriously? How do I know you aren't lying to me? He shook his head. But I'm not, I really did like it. I smiled widely. You're just saying that. Nobody actually likes my writing. Everyone thinks we have to be all fancy and stuff in high school or whatever. I felt the creep of doubt go through my head as I said this, thinking about when I was sitting next to Yuri earlier. Will she like my poetry? The simple writing can be used to establish a much broader idea just by simply existing. Since people get flatlined, kind of like this one. I didn't even really say any of that with that much thought. Guess that's what Monica meant by theatrical perfection. More like being a fake friend. He agreed with me and started to talk again, but I wasn't really listening anymore by that point. My thoughts focused on Yuri. She's honestly the nicest person I know. I was only partially aware of him leaving because of the chair making a loud scratching noise as he got up and walked away. My train of thought interrupted as I watched him go back to his original spot. The familiar options screen coming up again. Speaking of Yuri, I wonder how the player, according to them, MC is gonna insult them next. Maybe, I don't know. I felt my nerves steel up when he selected my name. My mind edging towards simply ignoring him when he came over, but I knew already that was going to happen. I looked at him and with whatever interest I could muster as he sat down and put his poem in front of me. I glanced down at him, back up at him before pulling the piece of paper over to me and reading it over. The Naifu Waifu, the determination of a vivid yet crimson universe. It's heaven-sent judgment. Atone, for it's your destiny. The candle flickers? How stupid of a metaphor do you have to make before you get the point across? But a captive you remain, forevermore wishing to be unrestrained from this cage. Anything you would brave to your anxiety. This guy's a psychopath! The player, not the MC. Wishing to flee with insight of life. Ghosts. How ridiculous. What? To your own horror and to your disarray, your contamination of thought leaves you in vertigo. Vivacious. It's the word you describe yourself with. It's a lie. I read it over a few times, trying to formulate what was going through his head. This doesn't seem practical or reasonable. I glanced over at Monica. She wasn't really paying attention to me, her focus entirely trained on a notebook. Did she mention him writing so simple? Or mean? The player or the MC? Because, again, correlation equals causation, according to... and totally. It's not like that's something you learn in kindergarten, or first grade, second grade. I read it over again, trying to digest the fact that he had written such awful things. I started to speak, but I felt myself drawn into looking at the specifics. The determination of a vivid yet crimson universe. I nearly missed him responding to me while I thought this over. What was that? I looked up at him and handed him his poem back. Although I was against it, I had to talk it out with him and give him advice on his never-improving poetry. You did pretty well for your first time. He seemed embarrassed at this. You used some symbolism and attempted to formulate some well-designed images, but it did fall flat a few times. He seemed to be listening intently. I didn't really enjoy this interaction at all. Most new writers express this issue anyway, so don't feel bad. I smiled, grimacing inside. Truth is, I want you to feel pain. The thought ran across my mind and it made me feel a bit exhilarated. That's hard. Yeah, that's a good sign. Yeah, that's... The plan doesn't involve him being saved, does it? Right, thank you, Yuri. It's kind of sadistic. What the fuck? I smiled and... How deep does this resentment go? What is happening? Can I see your poem now? I handed him the first written poem. While its symbolism was pretty basic, its meaning showed a lot about my idea of love. He read it through pretty quickly. He didn't seem to care all that much. Not that I really do either. Sorry, I have such terrible handwriting. He looked at me confused. What? I wasn't thinking that at all. I acted surprised at his response. But it took you so long to read it, I thought that maybe... I felt my voice raise a bit out of excitement. I can't lie, I had been looking forward to this part. Why? Why? Well, I just don't read script very often. I actually think your handwriting is pretty. I smiled a little bit. That's a relief to hear. I looked at the poem being given back to me. I still don't like it. Also, I liked the poem. Even though it's short, it was really descriptive. I nodded a little bit. It wasn't too short? I felt the knots like he'd draw up my skin, but I let it go. Oh, get it? Get it? Get it? I'll use it later. Not at all. I smiled again as he continued to pester me with questions. He even completely missed the simple point of the ghosts being experiences coming back. Let me guess. Oh, so stupid, dumb, idiot. or that. They basically mean the same thing. How did Sayori manage to stay friends with him? Finally, he stood up and went back to his usual spot, my previous thought lingering. They weren't actually friends, were they? And if so, I look over at Sayori, a short but stinking realization hitting me. What realization? I really hope it's not. Then he must have treated her poorly. To which I say he didn't? Whatever. Save the best for last. I watched him intently, nervously pressing my fingers together under my desk as he selected my name. Oh! I sat back into my chair normally, facing forward as he approached me and sat down. His character pretty much threw his poem at me, and I scrambled to get in my hands, the paper fluttering about for a moment. Yeah, meanie. Yeah, he is. He handed you a poem. Oh boy, what a psychopath. I managed to catch it before it fell, and I read it over at a slow and methodical pace. Just like Yuri taught me. A sweet and salty bud, the tragedy of sweet love. Its heart, its passion, all riddled with hope. Something a lazy, shameful fool would fall for a daydream. Or a daydream. The singing, the dancing, its happiness, even in the dark. A childhood friend, what a waste of a character. Love, like an adventure, its story made of many colors. Since it reaches a rainbow through the rain clouds. Crying in bed. No family. That's what you are, and that's what you'll always be. Again, this player is a psychopath, MC isn't. I felt confusion burn itself into my head as I read over the poem. It didn't seem like a poem and more of a hate rant or event, but it seemed like he was trying to attack me? Is he sharing this with everyone? This is really mean. Yeah, it is. Blame the player, not the MC. I already know you're not gonna do that, right? I looked up at him and smiled cheerfully. This is a good poem. I mean, really good. I gave it back to him as soon as I finished saying that. My hands going back under my desk, my fingertips pressing on one another lightly. I hide my slightly nervous, slightly upset emotions under my usual demeanor of a Sayori classic. Positive thinking. Is this your first time writing a poem? I remember Monica telling me to reword that sentence for some reason. I could hear a chair shift and Natsuki stifling a laugh in the background out of his hearing range. I'm gonna say that's an insult because, you know, we're probably gonna get the joke soon enough. Of course, it's not that good. I'm the kind of guy who would be writing poems in his spare time. I shrugged as I looked at him. Actually, you kinda do, plus you're an actual neat. Yay, more, cool, great! Instead of saying something mean in response, you know, like I just did. By the way, we're at insult 36, folks. I do my best to sound happy that he's here. I guess you're right, but that's the best part. You actually wrote one. I knew he didn't actually write it, and that made me dislike that line altogether. It just reminds me that you're a part of the club now. I smiled widely as I said this. Well, of course. I'm not really into it yet, but that doesn't mean I'll break my promise. I smirked to myself as he said that, looking at him directly, not to rush him, but I didn't want to talk. Yeah, and I'll make sure you have lots of fun here too. I said it seriously. Natsuki stifled another laugh to this. I don't know whether to add to the counter or not. What is Natsuki's thought process there? Yeah, my subtle insults worked? Was it an innuendo, or was it correlated to the plan, which again, more doubt that this is actually, don't do the door, we're gonna save MC, woo! More like, I don't know, kick him out? Why is he laughing so much? Is it bad? Alright, I'm gonna hold you to that then. I laughed a little as I held up my poem. Now you read mine. I handed it to him and he nearly dropped it immediately. Did he barely even looked at it. Trying to understand what happened, I think about it. I felt a different kind of feeling rise up in my chest. Kinda hard to process it under the pressure of staying in character. I feel genuinely hurt. She said he was mean, but that's just rude. Oh, you mean the player? Or are we talking about the MC? Either way, according to you, they're both basically the same thing anyway. Sorry, this is just a guess, but did you wait until this morning to write this? The feeling got worse, and now I just felt offended. He isn't real! You literally thought that yourself! Why are you... No, right. There's still past memories correlated to this, so... Okay, I shouldn't be like that. Even in this insult fest that we're in. No! I said it loudly, startling Yuri and causing Monica to look up at me. I sit back, trying to maintain my composure and not call him a meanie. Just a little bit. I wanted to let him know how much of a jerk he was being to me. Was he this bad with the others? You can't answer just a little bit to a yes or no question. His words tear me away from my own train of thought, and they nearly give a snappy response before remembering what kind of situation I was in. Somewhat instinctively, I quickly glanced over at Monica. She was watching me carefully. She blinked a few times, slowly giving me a small smile, a wordless display of encouragement and support. I forgot to do it last night. Monica's smile got bigger as she went back to work. She seemed to be trying to stay busy and not pay the situation any heed. Well, at least that makes me feel a little bit better about myself. Okay, yeah, no, I have to admit, some of this dialogue is bad. And I can imagine I would be offended too. Oh, if he'd said those things. Did he say those in the original? I looked at him directly, my offensive meter off the charts. Before I really know what's happening, I sit up and yell at him. Okay, can you stop being so mean? I tried my best, okay? He looked up at me, a brief flicker of concern and apology crossing the avatar's face, but his usual look came back almost immediately, with no emotion or anything really displayed. Yeah, I didn't mean to say that it was a bad poem. Wait, a brief flicker of concern and apology, but then... Is MC trapped? Is he trapped here? I mean, I wonder, did he genuinely, like, want to... No, I'm sorry. Like, something's correct. Like, right, he has to stay on script. Maybe it was like... Nope. I don't know. With that thought in mind, it just makes this counter even worse. It came out nice, or how should I put it? It sounds just like you. I knew that wasn't an apology just from the start. But if I don't go along with it, you really mean it? I tried to maintain composure and not yell at him once again. Please change the subject, especially that last line. I felt a quick surge of relief as I looked at him, trying to ignore his awful rudeness and inconsiderate attitude towards his supposed childhood friend. Perfect! Breakfast! What? Right, positive thinking, like, the perfect. Correlate that with breakfast. Yeah, it was perfect. Maybe still filing that. I'll talk to him about it for a little while, keeping myself distracted. Or were you changing the subject? Oh, right. Okay. Never mind. Could be both. I looked around the room after he went back to his normal spot. Everyone was letting out quiet sighs of relief as the process was finally over. Well, after he finished talking to the last of us, he went back to his seat and relaxed, his attention going around the room rather wistfully as he looked over at Sarah and I first. So, are you alright? I put on a smile as he looked over in our direction. I was honestly trying to cover up the anxiety from the intense stare he was giving me. Is that supposed to say she? Is there... What? I'm confused. Was there... Oh, no. Was it supposed to be in a different perspective? I'm so confused. Sarah looked at me with a bit less of a smile, her frown more obvious as she stared at me. She looked a bit lost almost, my own smile retracting as I looked back at her. We could talk when we're alone tonight, alright? Sarah smiled a little as I said that. Just yesterday, you wouldn't have done that. I guess I really am affecting you, huh? What do you mean, done that? What? Showed No, not that. Probably something to do with the poem sharing thing. Like, play with him a bit, right. I felt myself blush a bit as he mentioned the change I hadn't even noticed until that point. I looked away for a moment or two to collect myself before looking back at her, my smile still bright. Because Oh, I know where this is going. Because if you can't ship it with MC, ship it with each other. This isn't... So, I get this now. because no one wants to be in a relationship with MC. Naturally, the only way left to go is towards each other. Okay. I can deal with this. I mean, I'm fine with this. Yes, I mean, at the very least, this Ant's angle is written well. There seems to be genuine build-up. I wonder what's gonna happen. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot, Sarah. She let her smile waver a little bit as she looked down again, concern rising in my gut. If you want to talk about things tonight, I'll be there for you, okay? She nodded as I took a quick look to the right. The character model had shifted his vision towards the back of the room, where Yuri and Natsuki were sharing poems with one another. Come on, you two, please don't mess this up. This is all vanilla. Natsuki said that, clearly, with a little more bravado than I had expected. I felt a bit of nervousness crawl by my back as Yuri looked down at the paper and simply slid it back over to Natsuki. It's cute, I guess. Natsuki, she seemed shocked. She was staring right at Yuri as she made a terribly over-exaggerated face. And, like I said, for every bad thing, like how this counter is at 38, and it's infuriating, because so much is just happening and it feels paradoxical almost. We're gonna get to see the Yuri and Natsuki fight from the perspective of it all being like trying to act out a script. I'm genuinely excited for this. Oh god, this can't be. I snapped my fingers once to draw attention to myself. Yuri looked my way and nodded, a certain determined look crossing her face as she stared back at Natsuki. Natsuki, your poem is short. Natsuki looked at her confused. She didn't remember this part, and neither did I. It's as short as you are. Fun! And now we're back to the bad. Yay! Hey, good joke. Wait until you're at the coding club. Were you gonna share poems there? What? I don't know. Oh, at least Sayori isn't feeling as down anymore. Did you make fun of my height? Natsuki seemed absolutely furious as she stood up straight and puffed out her chest. Well, I'll have you know that I don't need to write all along and stuff. People like shorter poems. She seemed pretty ticked off at that point. Sensitive about your height much? Plus, I know Sayori really liked my poem, and so did Robbie. I looked over at Sayori, who shrugged at me in response, our attention going back to the now standing woman in the much shorter angry tsundere. Well, excuse me, but I know that the amount of detail I use is necessary to add to the story and feeling. I guess that was maybe that was supposed to get her properly ticked off? So that she'd actually be in the role? My complaint is turned into a positive. What is this mod? So unless you can suggest something that works in my technique, I suggest you stay quiet. Brutal. I could feel Natsuki's rage rise as she stared off against Yuri. Plus, I know the new member liked my poem as well, so your point is disproven. Yuri seemed awfully standoffish all of a sudden. Wait, are those two actually fighting? I felt the worry build up as I started to approach them, but as I started to go over there, Sayori walked right in front of me to confront them instead. My head felt a little dizzy as I sat down on Sayori's desk, watching everything unfold. I was feeling more than a little bit useless at that point. Well, you know what? Stop! Both of you! Sayori's voice rang out loudly to my surprise, and to add to it, Sayori looked a bit furious as she stood there looking at the two of them. Why are we fighting over this? Seriously. Because the MC character model is right there. And if we don't fight over it, the player's gonna know the plan? Thought that was obvious. Both Yuri and Natsuki looked dejected, a clear streak of shame coming over them as they shrunk away from her. Wait, we're going this way? What do we do? Natsuki, you're a fine writer. Your poetry skills are amazing. Suri walked over to her and put a hand on her shoulder. Plus, everything you do is cute. How you write, how you react, all of it. She took in a quick breath. And your height? Who cares? Your height is just a part of who you are, and nothing anybody can say will change that. Speaking of saying things, stick to the script! Like, hello? If I'm associated with this guy, I'm standing right here! Probably gonna be suspicious, look at the file. Probably look in the files, which... I have a lot of... Which I have so much stuff downloaded, I can't wait to share. We'll probably find out what's going on. Oh, maybe look at Codebreaker. Or be like, whoa, what's this? Understand why they're acting so differently? Put a stop to it. Whatever. Natsuki seemed a bit shocked, but her expression was displaying clear shame as Saori turned towards Yuri. Yuri, you're just as good of a writer in your own regard. You've developed your own style, and you have such a magical way with words. I witnessed Yuri take an enchantment, her expression shifting into embarrassment. I know you want Natsuki to improve on her word choice or whatever, but she's perfectly fine as it is. Her poetry is just as expressive, even if it isn't as long or as complex as yours. Yuri nodded as Saori took a step back from the two of them, her expression one of pure determination. Now, apologize, the both of you. The two girls looked at Saori and then at each other, Natsuki swallowing once before speaking. I'm sorry I got so worked up over this, Yuri. She looked downcast as Yuri tried to collect her thoughts before speaking. It's okay, Natsuki. I'm sorry for making fun of your height. I thought it would be a nice joke to help lighten the mood. Yuri looked down from Natsuki while the two of them tried to figure out what to say next. I'm going to go make some tea. Natsuki looked up at her and smiled a little. Ah yes, clearly a smile. Can I join you? Even Saori seemed surprised as she looked back at me. I didn't really know what to say to that. Sure. Yuri motioned for Natsuki to follow, but two of them heading to the tea set, grabbing it and giving all of us a glance before walking out of the clubroom door. Okay. Is the MC still here? Or are we just not going to address this? We're not addressing this? Fuck, I can't go back further in the dialogue history, but... Again, it's like, he looked over this way and this way. Nothing said that he actually left! So, not only is this completely different, but so... Okay, this is weird. I like this. I would like this moment if it was, like, made clear. And the MC left for the day. But he wasn't even given the choice of what to do. If I was the MC, I'd probably go, that's weird. I usually get to choose during this moment. Oh, the player. Like, if I was that player, I'd be like, I usually get to choose during this moment. Something's off. Did I mess up? I walked with Natsuki silently, occasionally glancing at her. We arrived at the water fountain. Natsuki watched me as I put the teapot down and began to fill it with water. The silence that had been present was being broken with the sound of rushing water slashing into the glass teapot. Yuri! I felt my body tense up. Yes, Natsuki? I felt two smaller hands reach over and grasp mine. My attention was directed at her as she looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. I'm really sorry, Yuri. I didn't mean to get so angry at you. The water fountain stopped running, regardless as to whether or not it had finished filling the teapot with water. Natsuki, something came over me. A feeling of unease when I looked at her, her grip tightening. I'm so goddamn sorry. I just got into the heat of the moment and I lost my cool. She was silenced. Wasn't that what was supposed to happen? The two lose their cool and it's up to the player to decide what to do next? That was the whole point! I mean, I get it. The real feelings that came up shouldn't have happened, so I get that, but seriously? That was supposed to happen. I mean, the argument was completely different, but it was following the script. I'm so confused! It's okay, Natsuki. I shouldn't have said that to you. If I had known, I wouldn't have... I'm so sorry. She buried her face into my chest, her sobs becoming more muffled as time went on. For once, I wanted to not let go, even though she got on my nerves sometimes. She's still my friend, and she needs my support too. We should go back to the club before they get worried, or worse. Yeah, because we completely messed up the script. Are we addressing that? I nodded as I turned the water fountain back on, Natsuki not yet letting go of me. The last drops of water hit the teapot as we began to make our way back. Natsuki had let me go at this point, the two of us walking together. It's a bit lonely without her warmth. I looked at her and smiled as we approached the clubroom door. She looked at me with a more confident smile. Don't you dare tell anyone about this, or I'll make you regret it. You got that? I laughed a little bit as she held the door open for me, and we went back inside without further complications. Okay. I looked over to watch Yuri and Natsuki when they came inside, a short breath of relief escaping my lips as I noticed that they were smiling again. Monika also seemed to be relieved as she cleared her throat softly. He's still here! He's still there! MC is still there! Again, we're not addressing that the fight not only went completely off script, but, you know, he didn't even get to make a choice. There were no options as to who to side with, like, help Sayori or I side with Yuri. No, I side with Natsuki. That type of thing. None of that? We just forgot that he existed? Okay, guess that doesn't affect anything. Okay, everyone. She stood up straight with her finger raised upward, upraised in normal glamour, which cut off from the screen. Good job. After Yuri and Natsuki finished their little C session, I think it's about time we call it a day. Natsuki's glare was lead hot. I could feel the heat of it from my position across the room. One thing before we leave, how do we all feel about sharing poems together? I felt my spirits raise when she said this. I had nearly forgotten that I had started working on my poem for our club meeting tonight. My poem! I'm sure they'll love it. I looked down at the piece of paper with the nearly completed poem on it, my smile growing as I slipped it into my bag for later. I then noticed that Monika was shooting me glances. I was a bit confused, so I remembered. Oh, right. I thought it was fun, Monika. Natsuki and Yuri agreed as they placed out the now-filled teacups, the smell of it taking over my senses. Oh yay! We're back to italicizing and bolding his name. The perfect combo! Oh, of demonization. And half expecting little devil horns. Letting out a quiet thank you as he started to pack up his things, his character model showing little to no real interest in what was going on with the rest of us. What about you, Robbie? He looked up and spoke harshly. Really? Okay. Yeah, I'd say the same. It was a neat thing to talk about with everyone. How do you say that harshly? What? Also, actually, wait, now that I think about it, did he have a condescending glare? Did he say that harshly? I mean, he said all the other stuff to Sayori, which, again, bad dialogue, but that was just mistakes. But that was just a mistake, and he thought it was like, yeah, little tidbit, we kinda did this, it's y'all friends, it's teasing. I mean, if the two of us tease each other all the time, I think, well, surely a little teasing could work, a little fun. I don't know. And again, I don't think he's saying this harshly. I think this is a case of unreliable narrator because there's deep-seated resentment. Monika smiled as brightly as she could to his rather dull response. Yeah, it kind of was. Then I say we do the same thing tomorrow. It's a good way to connect together as a club. I smiled at her response, my eyes catching the drifting concern Monika now had as she looked at me. Still worried? I'm fine now. I was already standing and getting ready to hit home until the thought hit me like a train. I have to walk home with him. I looked at him and back at Monika. My gut told me to continue, but hey, Robbie! You ready to walk home with me? I said it suddenly, not letting my own thought continue out of fear of what my nervousness would do. Oh no. I'll carry the burden. It's the price I'll pay for everyone else. Ah yes, the burden of walking home with this monster! Right? Is that what we're gonna say? 10, stall, stupid. We're at 38 still. Yeah, again. Yeah, starting to lean towards this mod being bad. He looked at me and nodded in silence as we both exited the clubroom together. I took one last longing glance back at the clubroom before proceeding down the hall, the quiet echoing of our footsteps ringing out before we finally made it outside. Now, don't switch perspectives, don't switch perspectives! Okay, there we go. I'm still curious to see how this plays out. After what felt like an eternity, we reached our street. The quiet brought a certain sense of calm to me, at least until his voice started to grate my eardrums. Yay! It begins again. Sorry about what happened earlier. I looked at him, caught a bit off guard by the sudden interruption of my peaceful story. Oh, he is apologizing! Oh, never mind. You know, between Natsuki and Yuri. Does that sort of thing happen often? And is it just me, or did that feel completely different? Seriously, I looked at him with a bit of shock running through my system and quickly spouted out an answer. No! I've never seen them fight like that before. I promise they aren't normally like that. You don't hate any of them, do you? I looked at him, my dialogue going through my head like lightning as he spoke. But his dialogue drowned out. Something else caught my attention in that moment. He had the strangest look on his face as his expression remained still. I blinked a few times as I stared at him. Disgust? What? Rage? Anguish? What? I couldn't tell. So did he seem genuinely mad at me for telling him that they aren't normally at each other's throats like they were today. Are we just making shit up? I don't know. Anyway, they make good friends with you. You can see why they make good friends with you. I could taste how bitter he was with that statement. My heart sinking a little as I realized that I couldn't possibly tell him how hurtful his words really were being in that moment. Not even just towards me either, but everyone. That's good. I'm glad you're enjoying your time with all of us. I turned away from his face, feeling a swell of emotion overcome me a little. I guess we will have to see what the future holds, right? I felt a hand lay on my shoulder before patting my arm a few times. He let go and pretty much darted away from me and into his house, leaving me alone on the street. We made up a... I don't think he said that in a bitter tone. Like before. In a base game? Are we making this... This is the only way to show that DMC really is like the player. Whoa. He isn't real. I lowered myself with my back against the door and felt the tears rush out against my control. My chest was shaking from the overflow of emotions. Why? What? What's happening? What the fuck is going on? The memories! I wasn't sure how long I was alone on the floor. Or even found me lying there. I just know I woke up in my bed, cuddling my warm cow plushie. But Mr. Cow, I struggled it closely, doing what I did most nights to help me relax. After a long day, Mr. Cow was so soft and smooth. And wait a minute. I opened my eyes and realized that I wasn't snuggling up to Mr. Cow at all. The first thing that filled my vision was the hair that I was burying my face into. It was long and smelled oddly of coffee, and after a few seconds, it clicked that the color was not that of Mr. Cow. Brown? I felt my body freeze as the revelation of who I was cuddling with came to me full. Wait, is the day over? Are we not getting coding lessons? Monica? I pulled away a bit, but I realized that she was holding me in her arms as well. My face flushed with blood as my eyes widened to the ever-growing predicament I was in. I'm confused. Fell asleep. Is this day 3? I'm gonna keep going. I need to see what's this. She fell asleep staring right at me? I let out a quiet sigh as I tried to stay comfy. My mind was finding a strange level of peace for being in this position, even if it wasn't something I was expecting to wake up to. He isn't real. I felt my eyes begin to close again as sleep began to take over. He isn't real. My eyes shut as I let out a happy noise of content. She is. The alarm interrupted my return to sleep while Monica shook herself awake just enough to practically stop the clock. No, I'm not going back to sleep now. Not after that annoying noise. Monica. She grumbled under her breath, something under her breath in response. Monica, hey. Is it a new day? She opened an eye for a moment before closing it again. Monica. She sleepily opened her eyes after my third attempt. What is it, Sayori? I smiled a little. Can you let go of me now? I know I'm a comfy person and all, but don't we have club stuff to do? Oh, right. Took a nap. Okay. Monica seemed confused until she shifted herself a little and looked at our position together a bit closer, to which the look on her face immediately went from sleepy to complete shock. Sayori! She let go of me and sat up, looking away from me out of complete embarrassment. I'm sorry, Sayori. I didn't mean to do that. I must have thought you were Mr. Cower. I smiled at her as I proceeded to boop her on the nose. In the middle of her sentence, her shock melting away into mild concern. Did you hurt your head or something when you fell? I smiled when she mentioned that. Did you find me? Monica shook her head. Natsuki, actually, when you didn't answer your back door, she stuck around to the front, and well, I thought. Yeah, we didn't finish that, but let me guess. The DMC must have done something. She looked away from me as I scooted over and hugged her tightly to comfort her. She's still so very warm. I could hug her forever. Just get together already. You already hate the MC's guts, so just get it over with, please. She hugged me back, a sigh of relief coming from her. After a little while, she pulled away regretfully. You're right, we have to go clubbing tonight. She smirked as she said that, standing up and stretching out. Okay, don't get it over with. I should have phrased that better. That was kind of a jokey joke thing. I like the build-up of the romance. That's the thing, but nah. Coming at the expense of constantly raising an insult counter doesn't feel good. First is the coding club thingy, right, Monica? I asked her curiously, yawning gently as she nodded in response. Yup. Monica's coding club. Patent pending. Cool, that's cool. She smiled as I got out of bed myself, stretching out my tired limbs. I realized I was in my stay-at-home clothes somehow. I looked up at Monica suspiciously, but she just shrugged in response before leading me out of my room and down the stairs. Alright, Alright, that's where we're gonna stop for today. Alrighty then, our insult count is up to 39. And he said those things as a joke. You know, joking around, kind of, maybe. It just feels weird. The whole thing feels weird. I'm less conflicted. I'm kind of leaning towards this mod being kind of bad. Like, I'm leaning more towards bad, but at the same time, I'm excited to see where it goes. Coding Club sounds interesting. I mean, we're gonna learn more about the coding. But it's weird. We didn't address how the fight was different. Like, very, very different. Like, oh, she didn't make a joke about Natsuki's height before, and I didn't get to choose anything. So, you know, there's that. Actually, what's the chapter thing anyway? I'm gonna look at that real quick, what the chapters are. After we go through this long character scroll of, you know, the Dokis, who hate MC, his guts, all of it, the chapters. Ah, yeah, again, Mr. Devil Horns. Chapter 2, I'm gonna pick chapter 2, see what that takes me. A rough outset. What are these chapters? What? And then chapter 4. I haven't reached this. So, you've not finished the epilogue yet? Alright, so the chapters don't have you skip ahead. Okay. Yeah! But anyway, I'm thinking that the thing was that memory is returning, maybe? We didn't get any of that yet, but I don't know where this is gonna go. I'm both excited and yet dreading it. I'm excited for the coding club, more of those like little moments, because when it's just between the girls, I'm thinking, it's working. I'm invested, I'm having fun, the dialogue is great, and there's good writing. And then MC enters the picture, and all of a sudden it's ruined with constant insults, resentment, aggression, and a constant middle fingers, kinda. I might as well be giving him the middle finger, but... And yeah, like Ogville said, like you said, kind of feels like... Kind of feels a lot like they're treating him like he killed their dog and laughed maniacally. Like, stab, stab, stab. And he didn't do that. He just said some poor thing. He just said like he just said things poorly. Kind of like this mod in a sense. I don't know. I don't like this mod. I can clearly see why it's infamous. I'm starting to see why this is infamous, like because of all of that stuff. We keep italicizing his name. Him again, as if he's some sort of demon. Like, what did he even do? He just had the bad luck to be correlated with a psychotic player. This is gonna get infuriating, but all right. So Friday, we're gonna do some exit music redux. So, yeah,